Route 66. Was it abandoned and forgotten? I believe there's a population currently of about 43 people. But as you'll see, it is a long ways from its heyday back in the day when Route 66 was going strong. This building right here, I'm taking a look at. I'm not really sure where, some kind of storefront maybe? That did have the windows for display, it looked like. It's part of the history of Route 66, and that's what I wanted to share. But I also want to let you know that Route 66 is also kicking and definitely alive and doing well. This is kind of the abandoned section, or abandoned sections within many of the towns. But there's also tons of very active roadside attractions and just a lot of fun stuff to see that you need to spend time and look for. Now, this is the Magnolia service station. Fortunately, it's pretty bad state of repair, but it is a historic building actually. But we're just kind of driving around Texola here, and just some of the stuff you'll see is just totally overgrown, just a mix. But there's kind of a beauty in some of the stuff too. And there's one of the businesses, I believe it's working still now. This is like an empty building right here with the old truck out front. Old house with no doors or windows on it. I don't know, there's just something that kind of draws me to seeing some. Look at this, you can't even get to the porch if you wanted to. Looks like it's been plywood off. It's got like 5-6 foot tall weeds. Now this is Tucumcari, New Mexico, and actually Tucumcari is a very active Route 66 town, but there are parts of it that have been stores closed, whatever, but they do a nice job. This is an old Esso station. Right here is one of my favorites right here. This is actually, they have an old Chevy truck, and it's in front of the Ranch House Cafe. Now the Ranch House Cafe has been closed for a while, but I think they do a nice job of just putting something out there. But definitely worth a photo stop when you're out here. It's kind of seeing America and seeing the old America is special. And a lot of times it may bring back memories for you. Do you remember driving, your parents are driving and you're in the back seat, and Route 66 was how you went to California or back and forth. And here's the Apache Motel. It's currently closed. But hopefully somebody buys it and reopens it. There are a couple motels over here, but there's a Whiting Brothers station. And these properties are all owned by people. But I just kind of want to show what happened when I-40 bypassed. Basically, in the early 70s, they started doing a lot of construction with I-40, even earlier, and they started bypassing a lot of these small Route 66 towns. You have to remember that a lot of these towns would have 10, 15, 20 different gas stations. That's how busy they were. And basically when they got bypassed, it was tough for them. Now here's a historic bridge, the Rio Perico Bridge, located about 19 miles outside of Albuquerque. It was built in 1933, and it is actually closed. You can walk on it. It is closed to traffic though. But I just wanted to kind of show you that, this is part of some of the Route 66 that was abandoned too back in the day. Now this was active, I believe, until the mid 90s. It was used as a side road. I-40, I believe it passed it probably in the, 85 at the latest, but it probably earlier on it. You can see I-40, that's I-40 right over there that you're seeing with those cars and trucks on it. And right here we're looking at, this is probably, 20 miles up the road in New Mexico. It's an old Whiting Brothers station. And you can see, we'll get a good look at the sign here. See the Whiting Brothers on that. It's pretty cool. The building's pretty rickety, and then there's some structures across the way. You see the back side of the highway signs, and this is the Whiting Brothers. Like I said, you can tell this has been a while back from looking at the signs. They also had, I believe, a grocery and a motel at one part. I'm not sure where the motel was, but You can see right there where the groceries and motel. And this is kind of like just out in the middle of nowhere, really, this place. I didn't really see hardly anything else around it when I was looking around. Now, this is coming into Grants, New Mexico. And Grants is really cool. They've got a lot of old signs that were around, when Route 66 was really active. And this is one of them right there. There's just a little outside of Grants, Blue Water Motel. A little misleading. I don't think there was any blue water around here. And there's some more of the signs. You can see this old Zia right there. Pretty neat. The signs they used were just awesome back in the day. Oh, the Route 66. Now here's one, Roaring 20s. I think that was a liquor store, or so I'm not quite sure. Maybe been a dance hall back in the day. Now this is Boland's Trading Post. And it looks pretty much abandoned. Now these places are abandoned, but they are owned by people, so they're not something you can just go through. This is a private building now, but I'm looking at, it was a gas station. You can tell by looking right there. You can see the old gas pumps. And you can also kind of see like one of the old trading posts from back in the day. Thorpe, New Mexico, I guess is where we're at. It's just outside between Grants and Gallup. Now this is in Arizona. This is Meteor City. I do know as of this video that it was currently closed. Hopefully somebody's going to be doing some restoring and bringing it back to life. But it's a neat little place there. We also have, that was a gas station. I believe this place closed down, and that gas station is 78. But we're in Two Guns, Arizona, and what was really neat, this is an old ghost town. Had a zoo, a trading post, gas stations. The zoo actually had mountain lions in it, which is pretty cool. This is the backside, and just kind of walking so you can see a lot of it. And we're going to go and let you see the cages. They had mountain lions. They had just all sorts of stuff. Gila monsters. There's actually was a murder that was committed here. The guy who built the zoo was leasing the land, and then he killed the landowner. He never went to jail for it, but he did get mauled by mountain lions twice and was bit by a Gila monster. And I guess he kind of ran out of karma at that point, and he left, and the widow took over everything. But this is just a neat looking place right here. It's sad that they got some of this graffiti. I mean, some people just have no respect. This is not something to graffiti. You wouldn't graffiti your car. Why would you graffiti something, a neat old historic place? But that's just kind of a pet peeve of mine. But anyway, that beautiful sunset starting up there. Hey, howdy, Big Mike. That's me. And there's their stairwell. This is the back side. And then you can walk through and you can see some of the buildings. This is actually in the front here. This is the remains of the old gas station. And now we're going to take a look. There's buildings across the way. And then there's also the bridge. It goes over Diablo Canyon. And the other thing that was here is the Apache Death Caves. Supposedly back in the day, a bunch of Apache raiders were caught by the Indian tribe that they'd taken a bunch of women from, and they basically found them in the cave and took care of them. Now looking right here, this is just some more views of the inside of Two Guns. Like I said, it is such a neat place to look around. This is most likely a lot of the zoos. I think there was one part I looked at, looked like a bathroom at one part. But you can see like the cages, so these would be the different cages. I don't know what that was. It's interesting though. I mean, just you gotta love the history of this stuff. I mean, can you imagine what this was like in the 1930s? I mean, I think this was built in 1926, 1927. But did you see this thing as it was as a tourist attraction back in the day? I mean, to stop and see the zoo and see the mountain lions, historic Route 66, baby. Here it is. We still have a bunch more cool old abandoned stuff to look at. Right here, this is actually the only national park on Route 66. It's Petrified Forest National Park. And they actually have that's an old Studebaker there, and it's definitely worth a stop. This is outside of Holbrook, Arizona. And it's pretty cool. And look what they did. They made a bench and stuff out of the front grill. So I think that's pretty neat. Now this is on the way into Oatman, coming from the Topak side. Is on Phillips 66 station that somebody's restored some to go ahead and just show people what it was like. Now this is driving into Oatman. Now Oatman is a ghost town, or was a ghost town in the 1960s. It got bypassed at 19 was it? Bypassed, I believe, 1952 or 53. I'm not sure, one of those years. And when it was bypassed, it pretty much died. Now it wasn't a bypass because of I-40. It was just rerouted because it was a pretty dangerous road the way it was set up. So they rerouted it from Kingman to Needles. But we're going to drive through town. This is actually technically was a ghost town in the 60s. This was a ghost town. And this originally started as an old gold mining town. And it's pretty cool. It was actually named Oatman after one of the Oatman girls who was kidnapped by Indians a long time ago and then finally rescued. And what's really neat about this town also is a lot of times you'll find burrows and stuff like that. It's getting towards evening when I was coming through. I was coming through on a Route 66 trip from I was heading over from California, so it was kind of getting early. But it was, there we go, 1953. It was rerouted, and that happened a lot with Route 66. Some places you'll find three, four, five places where it was rerouted. It was very common because they'd find a better way or politics, go through a better town. You know, this was kind of the politics of going it through. They originally did it to go through Oatman, and a lot of that was kind of politics because the other way was probably a lot easier. This actually, I believe, though, was part of the Beale Wagon Road, and then I believe it would be part of the Old Trails Highway on that. And we're kind of just heading on the outside of the town on Oatman here. Kind of neat little gas station. Now these are some of the mining structure houses that the miners used. Mining, big gold mining was a big deal out here. This is, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles outside of town. It's actually an active gold mine here. Now this is Truxton. It's between basically Kingman and Seligman on Route 66. It was bypassed in 1978. It's a Truxton Cafe. Got the Orlando Hotel. It's a pretty cool sign. There's a Frontier Motel. They also had a cafe here. And these buildings, those are all closed businesses now, but they are pretty cool. Now this here is over in New Mexico. This is Endee, New Mexico. It's actually named after the Endee Ranch. And this part was bypassed. Route 66 was rerouted in 1952. So this died out pretty shortly after that and became a ghost town. But I just love looking at some of these old buildings. I mean, they're just classic here. It's a shame there's graffiti on them. That irritates me so much, just seeing people put graffiti on stuff. It's like, if you want to put graffiti on something, put it on your own car. Don't put it on somebody else's property or ruin it for everybody else. That's just messed up. You can disagree with me if you want, but hey, we all have our opinion. You know how that works. But there's also a second ghost town here. And we're going to go out to Glenrio. And what's kind of interesting, let's see here. Oh, well, first we're going to take, now that was really neat, the windmill going with the old truck. I found this and it was just a little bit off the path. I just thought it was amazing looking to get a video of that. I mean, that's just classic Americana, abandoned. Now we're driving down, this is old Route 66, and you can see it's a dirt road. And we're actually heading to Glenrio. This is one of the old wood bridges, and those are what you actually currently cross. There's a couple of them that you'll cross over. I believe this is the foundations from one of the other bridges originally when they were passing, I'm believing, but I'm not sure. This is Route 66. You can see they had it as a split divided highway here. And now we're coming into Glenrio. Now what's fun about it, like I said, Glenrio is actually in New Mexico and Texas. There's one of the old cafes. They had a gas station. There was quite a bit of stuff. It was bypassed in 1973. It was pretty much made it a ghost town at that point. You see one of the old gas stations there. And this is private property, these places. So, I'm taking all these videos from the road. So, don't trespass on people's property. Please respect their rights. But you can definitely, I take photos and videos from the road, and that's public property. There's a little cafe. There's a couple other, you can see some of the corrals, and there's a motel cafe. There's quite a bit going on here back in the day, from my understanding. But I've been out here several times. I just had fun checking everything out. I don't know. There's just something, old ghost towns are just kind of cool to look at. It's just kind of the explorer in me, I guess. Now, we're going through, and sorry, but we skip it all over a little bit, but that's just part of life here. We're in Shamrock, Texas now, and this would be basically, um, they have a, they do have a couple abandoned buildings here. They've got the Conoco station, which is amazing. That place right there is where they actually have a ton of stuff. It's beautiful there. And like I said, this town has a lot of stuff in, or has that and a few other items that are really neat. Um, but there are some different abandoned buildings and stuff. This right here, we're going into Oklahoma here, and this is Eric, Oklahoma. You can see one of the old hotels that was there. And do remember that even when you see the abandoned property and stuff, somebody owns it. It is not, or a lot of times they're made into houses now or all sorts of stuff. So don't trespass on people's property. Be respectful, please. There's a neat old truck right there. That was an old hotel. You can see right there. Back in the day, this is old 66. This would be busy, busy, busy. A lot of these old towns seriously would have 15 to 20 gas stations. You know, now Eric, Oklahoma still has a lot of stuff going on, but you can see a lot of the buildings are either closed down or not being used, it looks like. This is kind of fun right here. This is a mural of Roger Miller. Kind of fun. And here actually is an old museum. Well, they turned it into a museum, an old building. And I like that when these places use the old buildings and find a new purpose for them. But there's a lot of these places that you can see, a lot of these towns in their heydays were just going crazy, and when I-40 bypassed them, or a lot of times when Route 66 went ahead and rerouted, which it did very often, it would leave these towns basically destitute sometimes. I mean, a lot of them turn into ghost towns. Now this is an open place right here. It's really cool. They have all sorts of old signs. The Sandhills Curiosity Shop. They don't sell any of the old signs, but you can go and take photos. A really neat guy inside there. He plays a guitar, and it's just got a neat look to it. Like I said, that's an active business there, but you definitely stop by. It's really a really neat part of Route 66 to see. Just all those old signs of the highway. Now this back here we're looking at, this is back in Oklahoma, and this is Afton. This is the Avon Motel. It's the remains of it, the ruins. Not a lot left but the sign and a couple of the buildings. And then finally right here, this is the Glancy Motor Hotel, and that's in Clinton, Oklahoma. Hey, and check out our next video.